Now, WPG Talk Radio 1450 presents Ask the State Senator. It's your opportunity to talk directly to State Senator Jeff Van Drew. Call 609-407-1450 with your questions. Now, with State Senator Jeff Van Drew, here's Harry Hurley.
Hey, welcome to another exciting episode of Ask the Senator. The whole idea here, it is your opportunity to pose your questions, your comments to Senator Jeff Van Drew from the 1st Legislative District, a terrific public servant. And he's here with us on a monthly basis as we have the opportunity to pose some questions from our end. But most importantly, you have direct access in the town square, if you will. Our phone lines will open up shortly at 609-407-1450. Don't be shy. You can email your questions either directly to me at harryhurley@aol.com, or certainly if it's easier for you, go right through the radio station website, WPGG-1450.com, and you can pose your questions. Executive producer Chris Coleman is sending them directly to me. He is observing our program, and we look forward to the next hour and few minutes that we have with Senator Van Drew. You can also send your questions via Facebook as well, facebook.com/WPG1450. That's our page. And if you remember just WPG, it'll just pop up and you can go right there. You can listen on our Radio Pup application as well. If you're listening right now terrestrial and you're getting out of your car, you put it right on your Radio Pup app or at WPG1450.com. Just click on the Listen Live button. And also you can tweet your questions as well using the hashtag WPGAskTheSenator. Senator Jeff Van Drew, welcome.
It's great to be here, and I just think as you say all that, how wonderful it is to be here, and secondly, just how much we all are communicating all the time. Boy, there's a lot of different ways. Technology has changed. It's unbelievable.
I mean, literally, what used to be, if you left your audio, you left it. Now you take it with you in your pocket. It's with you in the car. You're synced to this. It is extraordinary. And I think what it means is that the public has an opportunity to really keep a close eye on public officials.
I think it's good in a lot of ways. I think they're able to keep a close eye on public officials, able to communicate with themselves and with the public officials. I think that they have more of a sense of what's going on sometimes. It can be trivialized and used in a demeaning way as well.
Yeah, which I don't like that.
Which none of us like. And sometimes something can go viral, as they say, that really shouldn't and really is not appropriate. And
that could start out with some faceless,
exactly. Just somebody out there who's
don't take responsibility,
trying to get information out there. So there's so many people putting so much information out there. But you know what I thought of the other day? I don't know why I did this, but I put Google Harry Hurley, and a ton of stuff's going to come up. Google Margie, Google anybody, it's going to come up. I mean, even folks that aren't involved like we are involved, there's still going to be information that comes up. Google your grandparents.
Nothing.
Nothing. It's a weird feeling.
If you get very lucky, like I have looked up my father, and I found my father's, I can't remember what it was, but, census. There was a census thing that they came door to door in those days. And so I found his census many, many years ago. But you are absolutely right. And it's funny you say that because I've tried to do it. Because I lost both my parents when I was young, and occasionally I just think about, is there anything out there that I just would like to see? It isn't there because it just wasn't in their era. It wasn't like it is now, so there isn't all this digital footprint. And also, too, while we're having teachable moments, let's throw out there, be very careful about your digital footprint because when you go to apply for a job, let me tell you something. That employer is going to do a Google, LexisNexis,
absolutely,
Yahoo, whatever search engine they use. They're going to do a search on you, and if goofy stuff is up there and you're bad-mouthing your last employer or, risque photos and, odd behavior on that, the difference between you and the next applicant that they look up and they don't see any of this goofy stuff, people don't realize it, but some of the recklessness of today, you don't have the opportunity to just scrub that.
Absolutely. You used to be able to make mistakes, and it was a mistake, and that was it. And in all honesty, nobody knew. But today, that's all recorded, and if you're not careful, you're going to have a hard time finding a job.
I mean, there's a break.
You have to go into politics.
Yes, there's a break, and then just explain it away. There's a break. Make a campaign promise.
Here you go.
There is a breaking news report this hour that records that the former Secretary of State thought were completely scrubbed. It appears that in a cloud server. I don't know if you have the cloud with your iPhone.
Yes, I do. I do have the cloud on my iPhone.
Which is great because if your phone gets lost, destroyed, something happens, you can then get another phone and everything
get all
comes
your
right
information
back.
again. Yep.
Well, it looks like information that people thought was gone is not gone. So that's even after I think an attempt was made to get rid of stuff. This is just to give an idea. I'm not getting political on you, Senator, but just showing how persistent this information can be, that even when you think you have literally wiped something clean, and for those that don't know, wiping something clean is deleting everything and then writing over it not once, but usually 2 and 3 and 4 times, so that you make sure that any bits of what used to be there that you think you've deleted that are still there are completely gone because you've just inundated it and overwritten it with a whole bunch of other stuff. This is just showing how persistent this can be.
Wow.
It's very interesting.
It is very interesting.
We have so many issues that we're going to cover this hour with Senator Van Drew. And again, don't you be shy. Call volume was outstanding last month with Senator Van Drew, and your calls are already standing by. We'll get to them in just a moment. But let me give the Senator an opportunity to comment on something, because one of the areas for the whole 25-plus years that I have known you and I have covered your career, you've always been, I want to say not bipartisan, because that's sort of a compliment. You've been nonpartisan whenever possible. For example, if the governor is here and you're a member of the opposite party, but there's something that you can work on together, you're one of the few people that I see in this business that not only isn't afraid to do that, but doesn't apologize for doing that. And I think you've had great success because of that. And for example, the governor was in. I think he did a great job in the run-up to what was expected to be a very significant Hurricane Joaquin event. We were spared, even though there was a lot of erosion, a lot of flooding. We were spared in the largest sense of what could have been a direct hit. But the governor was here. And tell us your thoughts about why you think it was important for the governor to be in Sea Isle City right before the hurricane.
I think it was good. But first of all, when he first decided that he was going to come in, it was clear that there was a possibility we were going to have a real storm and there's going to be a real problem. And if that had happened, we all would have been, very busy for a very long period of time. This storm was a terrible storm, as you know. It was a Cat 4 when they were discussing the possibility of it coming into New Jersey.
Yep.
And this could have been literally worse than Superstorm Sandy. And, it was funny because some folks just said we were so thankful. And you really, after going through Sandy and seeing what other people have gone through around the country and literally around the world, just so thankful that the storm didn't turn that way and it actually went out to sea. With that, we've had a lot of erosion, a lot of beach loss. There's a lot of work to be done. We're working on that now.
Did you have in Cape May, for example, Mayor Don Guardian and Public Works Director Rodney Jerkins, they did a great job. They put together a document, and they were kind enough to share it with me so that I could share it with the public. I was struck by how many 4-foot, 5-foot, 6-foot cliffs we're left with. Did Cape May get hit like that?
Cape May, absolutely. Parts of Cape May County got hit like that. Ocean City really got hit. Sea Isle City got hit. North Wildwood, I was speaking to the mayor of North Wildwood this morning. They happen to have a dredge there for a smaller project that they're doing, so they're trying to actually tie that in with the smaller project and work with the Department of Transportation. No, we got hit. It's, it's all relative, and it's all by comparison.
Yep.
So we all are so used to what happened with Sandy, unfortunately. Praise God, it didn't happen again.
Right. Then, of course, look what happened to
South Carolina.
South Carolina, 18 inches of rain.
I can't imagine.
18 dams have breached, have failed. Yep. More are hanging on by a thread, and people have been just devastated.
Great people, beautiful area. I know the area well. My folks had retired down to South Carolina, spent a good deal of time, particularly in coastal South Carolina, along the area of Charleston and all through there. And it's just, I feel so sad for those people.
Oh, it's terrible.
We've really had some bad storms.
Al is standing by. We're going to get him right on. I just want to do one last follow-up on this point, and if there's a reason to come back to this later, we certainly will. But I don't want to forget to mention this. We don't need a hurricane for devastation in the metro area, in Atlantic, Cape May County, in your district and neighboring District 2. March 1962 was a nor'easter.
Absolutely.
It took out the boardwalk. The boardwalk was floating down to the down beach. We were devastated in March of 1962. I was a little baby at the time, so I don't personally remember it, but I was alive, and I've seen pictures and heard a lot about it historically. But that was a nor'easter. That was not a hurricane, and
a nor'easter, when that water's stuck there, especially
there
when you're not getting rid of the water
there
fast, you're in big trouble.
You get a high tide, a super high tide on top of another one, and like you said, if the wind holds it in and it does not recede, and you get the high tide again.
We were very, very lucky. We were very vulnerable. The governor was very candid about how lucky we were. He was also quite candid about the dunes and some of the issues related to that, and he feels very, very strongly about, not only beach replenishment, but certainly dune replenishment, and spoke about some of the folks on Absecon Island, and I won't go into that because it's not my issue. For once, it's something that is not my issue, but he was very candid about that, too. He had some choice words, should I say?
Oh, I heard him. Let's say good evening to Al. Al, you are on the air with Senator Jeff Van Drew. It's your turn to ask the senator. Go right ahead.
I got a couple things I'd like to ask you. I spoke to you last time, and I was wondering, to me, one of the most things that's very upsetting for me is the way government is not accountable for its mistakes. The people that work for the government can sit there and tell someone who I told you about my friend who had his leg messed up, and all of a sudden he's getting food stamps, and all of a sudden he went and says, I'm working a little job. They say, oh, you're okay. And next thing you know, oh no, they bring him back and say, you can't do this, but we made the mistake. We told you it's okay, but we're not accountable. And it seems throughout government, all the way down from the BP problem, that government is not accountable for what it's supposed to do. Everybody else in the world is accountable for what they have to do, but government's not. And I would love to see someone go forward and say, if you do your job and you don't do your job, you're fired. You have to sit there and you, like any place else in the world, you have to sit there and do this. And the other thing that I'm very upset about is the fact, I'm going to try to get a gun permit, and it's like ridiculous.
Well,
I go in and out of the jail as a minister, and it's been almost 6 months, and I still can't even get a permit to get a gun. I don't understand this. I'll hang up and hear what you.
Hey, Al, thanks for the call. We'll get to the next call after the senator has an opportunity to respond. I can testify on behalf of the senator. You've been a very strong Second Amendment advocate. I am.
I was very proud to receive from the NRA, not an A, but an A+. Yeah. I was one of the very few folks who did. And I do believe in Second Amendment rights. And this is an issue that gets blurred by the emotion and the politics of the day. There's some terrible, awful tragedies that have occurred, but they've occurred because of mental health problems, because of people problems, because of human problems. It isn't, and I'm not trying to be facetious here. A machine doesn't jump up in the air and suddenly start firing on its own. It's the human being that's behind it, and we really need to do more in the mental health area to help folks and to make sure that people that have serious mental health issues are not involved with guns. Now, with that being said, everybody else has a right to have a gun. In fact, as I believe, and this is controversial for some folks, I believe in the right to carry. I believe that you have to qualify. I think you have to know what you're doing, how to operate the gun. I think you should take a little test, and not something that's just so extreme that nobody can pass it. But I just don't believe in the current standard that we have, which, as you know, is justifiable need. Well, justifiable need means pretty much you've had it to have an attempt upon your life.
And even then, you don't always
get it.
And
then you don't always get it, but you've got a shot at it.
Yeah.
But,
and we've seen people killed in the process waiting
Absolutely.
to get approved.
Absolutely. And it's a shame. And, it's something that I'm hopeful someday in New Jersey. There's a lot of reasons in New Jersey we are the way we are. It's a very urban state. The folks in central and northern Jersey, not northwest Jersey, but central and northern Jersey who represent us don't really understand the nature of Second Amendment rights and didn't grow up, target practicing or shooting or using guns or knowing that you can use them. It's one of the great things that even the Boy Scouts do. They teach young scouts how to use a BB gun and how to use guns properly and to respect them and so forth. Now, you're right. By the way, the caller, Walt's right, and I want to talk about this for a second.
Al?
About Al, rather.
Yes.
I'm sorry,
That's
Al.
okay.
About accountability. Because, Al, you're right about accountability because if you had something that was due and it had a time period that it had to be accomplished by the government and you didn't get it done, you would be fined or put in prison, or you certainly would be having a problem, whatever it might be, depending upon what the task at hand was. Yet there is a time frame that we are responsible for producing gun permits and we don't abide by it and nobody does anything about it. And that's wrong. And something really should be done about it. And it should be changed. I've tried legislation where there would be punitive measures if we didn't abide by it. The problem is to get any bill done in the New Jersey legislature. There are only a handful of Democrats and Republicans that are willing to do what needs to be done, and it's really a difficult task, unfortunately, but we keep working at it.
Al, thanks for a great call. Great to hear from you, and thanks for listening to Ask the Senator and for participating on our 609-407-1450 phone lines. Remember, you can email your questions in as well, WPG1450.com, right through our website, to me directly at harryhurley@AOL.com. I'll get it either way through Facebook on WPG1450. We'll get it there, or as we said in the opening of the program, using the hashtag WPGAskTheSenator. You can tweet your questions to Senator Van Drew. So from dialing in through all the other social media apparatus, so many points of contact in order for you to participate. Lillian is up now, and then Pat in Ventnor is going to follow. Lillian, hi there. It's your turn to ask the Senator.
Hello.
Go right ahead.
Hello,
Good evening.
Senator Van Drew.
Hi, Lillian. How are you?
I'm pretty good, but there's one thing that's terribly annoying and almost frightening to me. These out-of-country phone calls that keep coming over a month now, and nobody can do anything about it. I filed a complaint. The police can't do anything. They can't get those numbers and those people that are calling here from other countries. And I was frightened about it. I'm not a fearful person.
Did you, when you and I spoke on air during Hurley in the Morning, did you do the do not registry list sign up?
I did.
Okay.
Because they're out of the country.
Yeah.
They have no way of stopping it. And I'm wondering if a law can be passed to find out who these people are. This was constant for over a month.
Well, this is a very good question. Let me answer this in two parts. One, I will look into see if there's legislation that can be done in some way that would limit what they do. Now, it's hard to pass state legislation that would have an impact on another nation. Let's be clear. But nevertheless, there may be something we can do, and it's certainly worth looking into.
You know they bounce these calls,
and
too,
by the way, I do. And you know what? Let's do it anyhow. Let them sue us.
Yeah.
Let's go after them. But secondly, the problem that we have, and I've mentioned this when Kevin O'Dowd was going to be the Attorney General, who was a wonderful guy. I don't know if you knew Kevin too well.
Yes, I do.
Kevin is a very good friend of mine
super.
and a very good man. And he was going to be Attorney General, and he was the Chief of Staff for the governor. And I said, when you get to be Attorney General, one of the things I really want to work on is enforcing the do not call list. Because here's what we're doing. We've passed a state and a federal do not call list. The reason you do a state do not call list is so that when you want to enforce it through state mechanism, for example, the Attorney General, you can do so.
Oh, okay.
We passed both, and I was a sponsor of the state do not call list. But the problem is we're not really enforcing it. So I know on the rare times when I'm home a little bit more and I talk to my wife and she's always complaining that she wishes something could be done. The only reason it's not gotten as bad as it was before is because at least at this point in time, we have caller ID so we can see that we don't want to pick up the phone, that it's somebody we really don't want to speak to as a rule. But it shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't be bothered by these folks.
No, you have to get to your phone.
The only folks that are supposed to be able to call like that for marketing are people with whom you have a prior relationship. In other words, it is in the law. If you bought a General Motors vehicle and General Motors called you, they're allowed to do that. So I believe that we should have a specific task force or a specific part of the Attorney General's office, even if it was just 1 or 2 employees. I have legislation that would actually mandate it, whose job would be to enforce the do not call list and go after telemarketers. It invades our dinner time. It invades our lifestyle. It invades our privacy, our peace of mind, and our sanity, and it's wrong. And I would like us to do more with it. So
let me ask
I'm with you.
Do you think that this is age targeted?
It could be. Sometimes it is. But by the way, and I'm sure Harry's told you, Lillian, be very, very careful. And I will tell you, one of the strongest supporters of this, when we were going to have a press conference and then some other things happened, I think it was a storm and some other issues actually came up a while back, the past storm. When I was speaking with the PBA, they are very much in favor of a more aggressive enforcement of the do not call list, because many times you're getting phone calls, we represent law enforcement, and you should donate money to us for law enforcement.
Well, this one was going to bring me $1 million to my door.
Well, that's the real. Those are the real bad ones. Those are the real bad ones. Those are the ones that, believe me, Lillian, I guarantee you, there's not much I guarantee in life. They ain't bringing you $1 million. You could take that. You could take that to the bank. You could take that to the bank.
I thought it could be somebody local till I found out it was not. Somebody could take a shot at you. You walk outside. I live alone. It was awful.
All right, Lillian, I'm going to jump in only because I've got to jump. Senator's on the case. Keep in touch with us, and we appreciate you checking in for this episode of Ask the Senator. Pat is next. We're going to step aside for just a couple of minutes. We're going to come right back. We're going to give you a quick WPG Talk Radio 1450 traffic update, quick weather update. We're going to come right back, and right after Pat, we're going to go to Richie, and you can be next at 609-407-1450. It's Ask the Senator exclusively on WPG Talk Radio 1450, South Jersey's talk station with Senator Jeff Andrew.
WPG Talk Radio 1450 presents Ask the State Senator. It's your opportunity to talk directly to State Senator Jeff Van Drew. Call 609-407-1450 with your questions. Now with State Senator Jeff Van Drew, here's Harry Hurley.
Butt in for a second.
Yeah, please do. It's your
show.
show.
It's amazing watching you.
Ask the Senator.
You're texting. You're answering the phone. You're answering a second phone. You're moving the microphone. You're on the radio. I mean, you're an octopus.
You might think I've been doing this for 25 years.
I think you have been.
Okay. We started almost on the same day. One of your patients is text messaging me.
Okay.
So they send a shout out. I'll tell you that off air. We have a great question about something that is extremely vital. You talk about industry that has left Atlantic, Cape May, Cumberland County, a very, very significant national brand that's right here in your District 1. But let's get back to the phone lines at 609-407-1450. And we say good evening to Pat in Ventnor. Hi there, Pat.
Yes, sir. Hello, Harry, and hello, Senator.
Hi.
Senator, I know this is old news, but, I think it's just amazing that your zoo, the Cape May County Zoo, is the 5th best zoo in the whole world, isn't it?
It is I think it's number 13, and don't quote me on that, but it's in the top 20 of the whole world. It's not the best zoo in the whole world, but there's a lot of zoos in this planet, let me tell you, and that we are on the list of the very top zoos in the nation, and the list of the top zoos in the world is extraordinary, and I really just am so proud of the people that work there, the veterinarian, all the work that they do, and it's always worth a trip, and it's always worth a visit, and I think it's just going to get better and better.
It must have been the 5th in the country, because I know San Diego is like the number 1. As you said, there's a lot of hard work attached to that, and an awful lot of dedication, and I think that's just marvelous, because I remember years ago going out there, and there was always a nice park, but it was just a park, beautiful park, and what they did with that is amazing, and I just cannot understand.
It started out as a park with a donkey, let me tell you, and I'm not exaggerating by too much. That was about it, so they have done a fantastic job.
a nice little lake and everything they used to have, because I used to take my children there many, many years ago. But also, I just cannot understand, other areas around here, because we have there are spaces, there is grass, there are sort of areas where we could do something like that, but it seems like nobody has the initiative, and I thought that was just crazy. Cape May County is always right there with everything. And another thing I have to this is oh my gosh, this is like a pet peeve. All summer, the traffic this summer was really bad, and I was quite often at the intersection of 34th Street and Marmora, because I would go to Seaville and other things around that area. And it's like every man for himself now, and I keep saying to myself every day I went there, I would say, oh, if only the Beasley's Point Bridge was open, because many, many years I would take that Beasley's Point Bridge all the time. It was so great. But now when you get to 34th Street and you're heading to Ocean City, I shouldn't be laughing, but there's like 2 lanes go ahead. Then 1 lane goes into 1 lane. Then you've got the exit from the Parkway. Then you've got the exit onto the Parkway. And it's just, oh my gosh, and it's just...
Little bit. Let me tell you, I fought long and hard for that bridge, and at the end of the day, it wasn't going to happen. And fortunately, a good friend of mine, and I saw his wife. Actually, you're talking about the zoo. I saw her at the Cape May County Park. Trudy, who is Commissioner Simpson's wife, and she is a wonderful lady. Now, he's not the commissioner anymore. He went back to the private sector, but he was a wonderful, wonderful DOT commissioner, and it wasn't going to happen for a whole host of reasons. I won't go into all the details, but what he did commit to do was at least a new southbound bridge and to put the extra lane in there, it's a much wider bridge and secure bridge, and that needed to be done as well. It really, really did need to be done. So. It is what it is. You know what? I got some gray hair, and it didn't come from dentistry. It didn't come from dentistry.
I know you did. Thank you, Harry.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Senator.
Have a great night.
Thank you. It was great talking to you.
33 minutes past the hour. You're listening to Senator Jeff Van Drew. It's our monthly program, Ask the Senator, and we've been taking just such a terrific gold rush of your phone calls. Richie is going to be next. Just want to remind you, if you're just joining our program, you've already missed a lot. But we have such a fabulous executive program director that I can promise you this Sunday in the 12 noon hour as part of the Best of Hurley in the Morning, 4 hours that we do every Sunday from noon to 4, the 12 noon hour will be a complete replay of tonight's live program. So you can enjoy it then for the first time or for a second time. Richie, say hello to Senator Van Drew. You're on the air.
Good morning. Good afternoon, Harry.
See how people programs?
There you go.
That's pretty good, Richie. That's an experiment right there.
You think of Harry, you think of the crack of dawn. Yep.
Yeah. I'm used to that,
Yes, sir.
I can vouch for you, Senator, because I've been at Second Amendment rallies, and you've been at every one of them, so you're not all thought. I know that as a fact. I just want to say hello.
I've been very clear in my voting record. I've been very clear with what I've said. One thing about Second Amendment folks, these are folks that you can't ride the fence with. You can't say, well, I think, or you have to know where you're at. Whatever it is, they'll respect
because
it. Because
they know where you're at.
They know, exactly. They do know where you're at, and they really check it out. And I've been real clear, and folks know, and I've always appreciated their support, and I continue to do so.
But, Senator, the thing is that really agrees with my ancestors fought the American Revolution, and the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. That was the case. Our government became a tyranny. It wasn't about hunting or target practice. It was our protection against a corrupt government.
It is it's a way of life. It's a familiarity with guns, and so what has happened, if you really understand the central and northern part of the state, and I always exclude the northwestern part of the state. Folks up there didn't grow up that way. They don't have that way of life. They don't have the open space. They, in general, haven't just they see guns in a totally different light. And even when I would try to explain, I tell the story. I think it's worth telling one more time, if I may. A senator came up to me, and it was the one gun a month bill. And I said, this isn't going to help anything. It's not going to make any difference whatsoever. It's not going to save one life. It's not going to do anything. And the person said to me, well, where I come from, there are shootings virtually every day. And the senator was correct. There's some terrible things. And the senator said, and it's a real problem, and we have to do something. And I said, but those were illegal guns, illegal. And this is how some folks have so little understanding of it. The senator said, no, it was a legal gun. The only difference was it had the serial number scratched off it.
Which meant it was an illegal gun.
It was an illegal gun.
Yeah.
It was obviously an illegal gun. Now, if you said to me, what should we do? Now, for those folks that steal guns, commit crimes with guns, murder with guns, hurt people with guns, I think in those cases, some of those penalties should be more severe. There's no question about it. I've got to tell you, it must be so upsetting. I'm a gun owner, and I have handguns too. I have pistols. And I would be so upset, and probably I shouldn't even mention over the radio, but I also have German Shepherds. But, I would be so upset if somebody stole one of my guns. Think about that. What a scary thing that is.
Sure.
And anybody who does that, steals a gun, should get a really thorough penalty.
By the way, your German Shepherds are on Facebook.
Yes, they are.
It's okay.
Yeah.
just social media again. Richie, anything else for the senator?
Yeah, I know you're trying to make people aware, but, Senator, yourself that a lot of these crimes, Chicago has the strictest gun laws in the country, New York. And,
absolutely.
And people, I wish you could do something about people waiting to get a permit, because
I wish I could too, and it's something we should next time we see the governor even talk to him more about, because something that maybe he can really work on and do something. But he's only can do as much, and I can only do as much as some folks that are around you, and there are folks that just don't see this issue the way that you do and the way that I do, and it's very passionate and it's very strong and it's very hard to accomplish the goals. Somebody who was speaking before about accountability, there should be accountability in these gun laws too, in that you are supposed to get a permit. Al was talking about accountability and about Second Amendment rights. Well, Al was right. You should, when you get a permit, you have a required number of days that the government is supposed to. They are required to give you that permit. And yet they don't fulfill that. They don't fulfill that requirement.
Richie, thanks for a great call. Have a great night, and thanks for listening to Ask the Senator and for checking in. If you're just joining us, we are visiting. It's the monthly program, Ask the Senator, with Senator Jeff Van Drew. He is the senator from the 1st Legislative District, which encompasses all of Cape May, Cumberland, parts of Atlantic, another sliver somewhere else?
That's it.
I have it about
right.
That's it. And we appreciate the time that we spend each month with the senator. First time the phone lines have been open this hour, 609-407-1450. We have a list of a bunch of questions, 10 or more questions. We haven't gotten to one of them, and I'm still not going to get to one of them because Elizabeth has written into the program and said, Senator, I think a lot of listeners would be surprised to learn that Progresso Soups, their plant, their main headquarters basically, is in your district. Absolutely. It's in Vineland, and we are so very proud to have them, and it's a wonderful product. It creates hundreds of jobs. You know what I particularly like about them? I don't know if you've seen the advertisement. Yeah. They advertise Vineland, yes. New Jersey. That is so neat, yeah. And we are so appreciative of it. And they're showing farms, and they're showing New Jersey in a way that you want to see New Jersey be shown. So this is something I'm a big believer in. When something works, you replicate that. There's something about Vineland. There's something about your district in Cumberland County, which has had some tough times, as you know. Yeah, absolutely. That Progresso is there, and where a lot of people have left New Jersey. Yep. And it's one of the areas we have to work on, and everybody speaks about it. But I mean, it's something that has to be more than just talk. It has to be, you got to walk the walk, as they say, and not just talk the talk. We need more companies to stay in New Jersey, and we need more companies to locate in New Jersey, which is really important. And there's ways of doing that. And certainly, I have to say, for the city of Vineland and the county of Cumberland, they have really tried. They are actually working on a project where they're trying to work with their county college, their technical school, their workforce investment board, some of the stuff that they're doing in Atlanta County now, look, which is very intriguing. I think the executive and the freeholder director are doing some really interesting, and of course the entire board, some interesting things where you're really connecting what you have, the potential you have, and then making sure that those potential employers know that and that you can shape that potential in any way that they need you to do it, including the employees and the type of employees that you have. We're going to take our final break. Then we'll be uninterrupted until a few minutes past the next hour where Senator Jeff Van Drew was Ask the Senator. When we come back, tough question. I don't think it's going to be a tough question for the senator to field because I know his record on taxes, but I think some in the legislature have a real bonehead idea to raise taxes. I remember the last time they raised the taxes on the hotel and the motel owners. I have a very dear friend who owns a hotel in Cape May County. This is not anecdotal. This is empirical. That hurt them dearly when they increased their taxes in the past. Whoever could believe, and they, the old, it's only 1%, that game. We're going to talk about that with Senator Van Drew when we come back, and we'll take more of your calls at 609-407-1450. It's WPG. Talk Radio 1450s. Ask the Senator. With the 1st District Senator Jeff Van Drew. We continue in just about 3 minutes.
WPG Talk Radio 1450 presents Ask the State Senator. It's your opportunity to talk directly to State Senator Jeff Van Drew. Call 609-407-1450 with your questions. Now with State Senator Jeff Van Drew, here's Harry Hurley.
Hey, thank you. Welcome back to our program. About 15 minutes until the top of the hour, and then we have those few bonus minutes on the other side. So take full advantage. 609-407-1450. Phone lines are open if you have a question for Senator Jeff Van Drew. It is Ask the Senator, and you're listening to WPG Talk Radio 1450, South Jersey's talk station. All right, we teased before the break. There was a very regressive tax several years ago, and it really crushed, Senator, hotel, motel owners, particularly the smaller ones that can ill afford this kind of thing. So they're not even – and then the Great Recession on top of that, they're not even with their sea legs under them after that one, and now we're talking about 1% more. This is, in my humble estimation, a boneheaded idea.
I'm not supportive of it. I will say that it is, again, I am clearly not supportive of it, just so everybody understands. Let me explain the difference of what was done before and what they're doing now. Because some of the counties are so severely short of money, particularly Atlantic County and some of the problems that exist in Atlantic County, they're looking for revenue sources. So they had a bipartisan, truthfully it was bipartisan with Freeholder Formica, Senator Sweeney, some other folks, Senator Whalen, came together and said, hey, we're coming together with a package of bills. This is going to be one of the bills that are in the package. And I really respect them for working hard and working in a bipartisan way, and this is not being critical of anybody. And maybe it works for Atlantic County. But let me explain what happened in the past. In the past,
are you saying maybe in Atlantic County because of the casinos,
because they're larger properties and they can absorb it.
We have the highest unemployment in America. We have highest foreclosure rate. I mean, to put another tax on this is a terrible idea statewide.
So you have to ask those folks their opinion on it and how they feel about it. What had happened in the past, and I remember it well, and that's why it really alerted me, and you saw that I came out with a press release and said, whoa, we got to hold on here for a second. The concern that I had was that essentially, we're going to just put another penny on there and slow things down just a bit, particularly in the smaller hotel, motel, the mom and pop hotel, motel, and bed and breakfast, the smaller places. And we have a lot of those in Cape May County. So even though it's permissive, now how is it better? It's better in some ways than what was done in the past. In the past, it was a hotel, motel tax that was put on. It was mandated. All the money went to the state. It did not go to the county at all, and you didn't have any choice about it. This one is not mandated. It's up to the County Board of Freeholders, and if there is going to be money that's generated, it's going to come back to the county in which it originated, so it would go back to Atlantic
Well, I'll tell you what I like about this. I don't like it at all, but if it's going to happen, this means the government closest to the people, basically,
got to do it.
Have to do it right in front of their own neighbors, have to do it to themselves on top of that, basically, and be affected by whatever this does, and have to stand for election having raised taxes.
Based upon it.
I like it.
So,
I mean, if they're going to do it, I can stomach, because guess what? They could go past this, and then the local board, the county freeholder board, whoever is going to vote on this, could easily decide, hey, we're not voting for this.
Well, exactly. So it had such a devastating effect on the McGreevy days on the local bed and breakfasts that I came up with this idea, and I don't know if we really can do it. It would be wonderful, beside being permissive, if there was some way that we could exclude. Quite frankly, here I am going to be parochial. I'm usually not. If we can exclude Cape May County.
I would say if we can exclude Atlantic County.
Yeah. I don't think your guys are going to want to do that.
What I'm saying? I mean, we could all.
I do, but that's when you're going to have you're going to have your freeholder radio show, and then you'll discuss that.
But that's a Republican board, and I don't know how crazy they're going to be about raising taxes and having to run. I know Formica is part of the grand plan here.
Well, part of it would be to lower the property tax. It's supposed to go directly towards property tax relief, so that essentially, and there was an editorial in the press, and they praised the idea, and they thought it was good.
The property tax relief side never seems to happen.
It does, I do notice it.
The tax is just beautiful. It's perfect. It works perfect every time. But the other side just never seems to balance the scales.
What was the other name for the state income tax when it was passed?
Brendan Byrne, right?
Yeah.
Because it was supposed
the property
to be,
tax relief fund.
Right. And it was supposed to be until some one thing, a bridge or something was paid off, and it would go away. It never went away.
Nothing ever goes away.
And they keep raising it.
I mean,
so
Ben Franklin said that.
Yes, I'm against this on its face. If anybody says, well, you said if it comes to the local level, you're for it. I'm not for it even then. I'm just saying if it gets passed, at least a local level has to put their stamp on it.
It's better legislation than what was done in the past, without question.
Because it's not as much a dictate.
It's not a dictate. It is permissive, and it'll be up to the local level of folks to do it if they want to do it. And all I'm saying is,
do they do any wicked things
I'd like
you
to keep
lose
Cape
certain
May,
aid if you don't pass
Cape May
it?
County out of it.
Let me ask you this, though. Is there anything that we don't know? Do they have anything wicked in there?
There's
that
nothing
lose
wicked in the bill.
If you don't, you can vote it down, but if you vote it down, then you don't get this.
There's nothing in the bill that I know of. The only question would be at the time is, gee, your property taxes will go up if you don't.
All right, so let's go on to here. While all the liberals are happy joy because that's what they love to do is to raise taxes. Let me guess, they can't wait to raise the gas tax, right? Say yes.
And well, I'm not saying yes to raising the gas tax.
Not you, but that's what I'm saying for them. Yeah, that's what they're up to, right?
Absolutely. And I have a good friend of mine. I won't say who he is, but he's in the legislature. Nice guy. And he's from urban North Jersey, and he said, Jeff, they won't even notice.
It won't even
that big a deal. Everybody takes they take the bus, the subway. I said, not down by us. I said, first of all, down by us, we have a lot of folks who have jobs. They're contractors. They've got big trucks. They've got pickups. They've got larger vehicles. And what do people have to do in South Jersey? They got to travel more.
Yes.
We have greater distances. People travel more than ever before for work because it's harder to get work. And just in general, we're a more rural, suburban area where people travel a greater distance
than they do up north. And that's just your friends. And we're going to leave your friend nameless and hold the harmless, the innocent. But isn't that a jaded view? They won't even notice. And I'll tell you the other thing that's very objectionable to me, Senator, and that is the fact that they see opportunity because the price of gasoline has come down below $2 for a regular gallon. If you're using the higher test, and we should not be celebrating that this is an opportunity to raise taxes. Senator and I have talked on our program Hurley in the Morning in the past about the fact that, and it changes maybe by one place or two, but usually New Jersey is the third lowest state gas tax in the country.
Yep.
I mean, so it's almost like New Jersey has like scarlet fever or something because they see this as opportunity.
I have fun with it sometimes, and I'll say, can't we do just this one thing? I mean, we've got all the highest property taxes, highest tolls, highest fees, most regulation. We have so many different costs in New Jersey. Can we do this one thing? Can we do this one thing and give people a break with their gas? And many people actually fill up when they're coming from Delaware, they're coming from Pennsylvania, they're coming from New York. They fill up in New Jersey. It generates more. It's just like that's why I am for full serve mandated. The same thing creates jobs. Our people are working. We've got full serve.
Yep.
We take care of our people, and yet at the same time we have this lowest gas tax.
Right. Because here's the reality: if Putin gets his way. If we have some kind of, who knows, Middle East disruption, ISIS attacks oil fields, the OPEC ministers get freaky-deaky, things just start going crazy, gasoline can be back to $4 a gallon very, very quickly. We all know that, and it's mission creep. Oh man, remember when it was 179? Now it's 185 and 205 and 225, 305. Next thing you know, it's $4, but the tax is still there.
Tourism did real well this year, didn't it? What do you think one of the reasons was? And do you think to a middle-class family, to folks that are struggling a little bit, to fill their tank a whole lot, literally half the price is going to make a difference? It does.
Without a doubt. Linda is standing by. She would like to ask the senator. That's the whole idea. Linda, welcome to the program. Good evening.
Hey, hi, Jeff. Hi, Harry.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. So how about we impeach the legislature, all except you?
No, there's many, many fine people in the legislature.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No. We are already the highest tax state in the nation. Now, I mean, you want a gas tax, you're going to do the millionaire's tax eventually, the plastic bag tax, now you want a 1% on hotels, and with no end in sight.
Hey, by the way, how much would the gas tax be? Do you know, Senator?
I think, you know what, I did know this number, and I am so ashamed I don't want to put a real number.
Isn't it like at least a nickel or something like that?
Oh, no, I wanted to know how much it would generate depending on how many per penny.
How much per gallon?
Oh, at least a nickel. Yeah. I mean, there are some folks that are talking 10, 15, 20, 25 cents.
This is insane.
Yeah,
and of course, because of the transportation trust
fund. Very few people are talking a nickel. Most of the numbers I hear are higher than a nickel. Yeah, and
our daughter was just saying, you know, when her son is, I mean, they're in Cherry Hill now. My son-in-law does medical conventions, but when he is out, when he graduates high school, they are out of New Jersey.
I know, and I don't want him to leave. And we've really got to work on this. Whoever the governor is, whoever the next governor is, I mean, we have to continue to try to work on some real answers with some of these issues.
Jeff, I'm sorry for interrupting you, but had it not been for Christie to do what he did with that 2% sweep that covered pretty much everything, we probably would have been filing bankruptcy by now. That's my opinion.
I voted for it. I was one of the ones that did. Remember, many did not.
I don't want you impeached.
Yeah. I was one of the 4 on that budget committee. Absolutely. And I was there over the holiday as well. I know we needed the cap. Absolutely.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Harry.
Thank you, Linda. Great to take your call. That would be, I mean, you start adding 15, 20, 25 cents. That's very regressive.
Yep.
That's bad news. I mean, you're talking about, you know, it's an interesting thing about gasoline. I learned this a long time ago, but basically, depending on who you listen to, 1 penny taken off of the price of a gallon of gasoline puts a minimum of $1 billion into the American economy. Chuck Malamut says more like $1.25 to $1.4 billion. So I'm going to believe him over my lower number. You start adding that amount of money.
$1 billion here, $1 billion there.
And finally, you're talking about money, right? Real money.
It really starts to add up. You're not kidding.
So I'm totally against that. Totally against that. And a listener wrote in about the tax on the hotels and the motels and the bed and breakfasts, and that they're still reeling from the last one. And you know that mentality. You don't have it, but that mentality. It's only a penny or it's only 1%. That's how we get in these messes.
Yeah. And it's the same issue with the realty transfer tax. You know, it's the same thing. I said those folks can't. We shouldn't increase that as well. We're just going to have to really tighten belts, be careful, and really walk slowly and move this economy along.
So let's talk about tourism. Cape May County in your district.
Let's
talk about it.
Good year. A lot of folks down, record year, and I don't have all the numbers in front of me, but they could give you the numbers. I know we set another record, and I really do believe part of that was simply that it was easier and cheaper for people to travel. The economy's a little bit better, so folks came down. And Cape May County is a neat place. I mean, it is generally clean and friendly and safe and nice and light and bright, and I think a lot of people like going there.
Wonderful activities,
and people talk about, for example, we were just talking before about the zoo. I mean, things like that. You know, when it's a rainy day or it's a day that's not so nice, you have other opportunities and other things that you can do. So it was a good year. And partly, and I don't mean to keep beating this dead horse, but partly it really was because of the fact that all of things going on at once, the economy getting a little better, people having a couple more bucks in their pocket, really going through a horrific winter, by the way. Yeah. And you were just telling me the Farmer's Almanac says it's going to be another one. Well, for tourism, that's great because when people are bottled up and pent up like that, they just want to break loose no matter what and get out and get a little bit of fresh air and some warmer, nicer weather when the summer finally does come. So all that together, with the gas tax being lower, it was a good year for the county, and it really came together.
Senator, I don't want to make you blush, but I have to bring this up, and it's going to sound very gratuitous, but I don't mean it to be. I just think it's fair when elected officials are criticized for certain things. I think it's incumbent upon us in the media to also say when positive things happen. And I have learned and I have confirmed, that's a Hurley in the morning thing we do, learn and confirmed, that the New Jersey State Chamber has awarded you the Senator of the Year award. How did you get this?
And it's really.
Hope you don't mind me asking that because it sounds so polite. But it's an honor.
It's an honor. It really is an honor, especially for the entire state of New Jersey. And it was simply because on many of these issues, I've been very willing to work with the Chamber, work with the Business and Industry Association, work with the Apartment Association, work with a lot of people in the business sector to try to be an intermediary, quite frankly, to be a liaison, Harry, to work with those folks who are more progressive and say, wait a minute, let's really think about this. There's some things we can do. Even with ban the box, they really appreciated when there was going to be that ban the box legislation and how we were able to modify that and change that. And we worked with the senator who was involved with that. So they're having a dinner and they have an assembly side to it and a Senate side to it. And I am kind of excited about it. And I'm looking forward to it, and it's really nice. And
congratulations.
I'm very, very appreciative of it.
I like the fact that hard work is noticed.
Yeah, once in a while.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
It's quite an honor. Senator of the Year, Jeff Andrew. We've been taketh, now can we giveth. Is the boat tax cap bill still chugging along?
It is chugging along. It's
and tell people what this means.
So what it basically means is, and this is not just so very wealthy people can get a tax break and have yachts. That's it is not.
We know who got hurt with the boat tax to begin with, and it was
working
the boat
people.
builders.
Boat builders.
Done.
People with the hammer and the nails and the varnish and the people with the fiberglass, all the working men and women that work with their hands. The people that can buy a yacht,
that can buy a big boat, can go buy it anywhere.
Exactly.
And have somebody drive it here.
Exactly. And they can keep it anywhere.
Yeah.
So
yes. Scaramouche.
It's funny. It's even worse. Really what matters is the boat builders feel it here, but the boat builders are still building boats in New Jersey like Viking yachts. They're building them, but they're being kept in New York. And they're being kept down in Florida and in Delaware and in the Carolinas because all of those places have caps. They actually cap the amount of tax that you can pay on the boats. So we met with our local marinas, our bait and tackle shops, and some of our other folks and said, what can we do? And they said, look, everybody's competing. Either Mario Cuomo, like him or not, was real competitive with this. Yeah. New York State did this.
Yeah.
Well,
he was smart.
We're going after you.
And he offered those 10-year abatements. Very smart. You know something's crazy when it's advantageous to do business in New York rather than in New Jersey.
Absolutely.
We better take a long look in the mirror.
Hard look at
when
it.
That's going on.
Hard look
Let
at
me
it.
ask you about this because I find this, and for 25 years I've railed about this, and just in case it hasn't been around my entire career, ever since it's been around, but it feels like it's the whole time, the inheritance tax. I think the inheritance tax is one of the cruelest things that government ever conceived, that you've already paid half of everything you've made, and then the event of you dying means they can come and take half again, and in some cases more. I find this to be objectionable, offensive, totally, completely out of control, and I heard people like Barney Frank say, hey, look, you didn't earn it. To the people that would inherit it.
Your family earned it,
yes.
though. Your family earned it.
And you earned it, and you earned the right for that to be able to go to who you choose. When we see people have to sell baseball teams and they have to sell their farms because they can't afford to pay the inheritance tax, Senator, this is terrible.
There's only two states that have both an estate tax and an inheritance tax.
And we're one of them.
And New Jersey's number one
How
of
do you
them.
do?
Absolutely. We're one of the states that have it.
What about the inheritance tax?
So the inheritance tax, I have, so the actual correct, what we should be saying is talking about the estate tax, because that's really what hits most folks. The inheritance tax, by the way, I'm very much against as well, because it starts at a much lower number, almost $1. The threshold is way down.
Terrible.
And it's for single, so somebody who's single. So if you don't have a husband or a wife or a son or a daughter to leave it to, you really get hit with that inheritance tax.
Terrible.
Why is that?
Because they can.
Talk about prejudicial.
Yeah, because they know you're dead. And tell no tales.
And you don't have any family, or
nobody
to defend you or complain.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awful. It's awful.
Yeah, it's wrong.
So the inheritance tax, I'm totally dead set against. And the estate tax, it was actually during the McGreevey administration, rather than link it with the exemption, which means you're exempted up to a certain amount, which is like over $5 million for the federal exemption. They linked it to a much lower exemption, a little over $600,000. So people in New Jersey pay a much higher estate tax. So what does that mean? That means people in New Jersey who don't have to stay in New Jersey, who have no family in New Jersey or have no real reason, if they can get out, what do, Harry? They leave.
We have such wealth flight, it's unbelievable.
We really have to change what we're doing with the estate tax and with the inheritance tax.
Let's throw I know we're in the final less than a minute, but throw in the pension
Same thing
tax.
With the pension tax. So we really need to start working on these. People say, how can you make this economy better? You do all three of those, New Jersey will really start to pop.
30 seconds, closing comment. How fast is your show?
All I know is this was a lot of fun. If anybody ever has any questions or anything they want to ask me, feel free to call at the office 609-465-0700 or at SEN, my email, SEN, vandrew@njleg.org. It was a pleasure to be with you. This is a lot of fun. I can't wait to do it again.
Thank you, Senator Van Drew. And we already look forward to our November edition of Ask the Senator. You've been listening to Senator Jeff Van Drew. He is here monthly on WPG Talk Radio 1450, South Jersey's talk station. I will leave for just a couple of hours. Say a prayer with me tonight for the New York Yankees to win the wild card game. After 162 games, it's won and you're in the playoffs, or won and you are done, and first pitch is in 55 minutes. Senator, great job. Mark Levin continues right now, and wake up early in the morning. We'll see you in 11 hours.